Okay, so hello and good evening to all of you. As you know that in the previous chapter we started discussing about the winds and the varieties of the winds types, and we uh, have discussed that there are three types of the winds: the permanent winds and the seasonal winds and means periodic winds, or you can say means local winds. So how the winds you can say means blow from one place to another, I have described that pressure plays a very pivotal role, and that is the pressure which pushes, and due to this push a force is being applied and the air goes one place to another. So let me tell you that actually how these means pressures or the pressure belts are divided on the planet Earth to understand what should be the direction of the wind. So you can see in this figure, actually I prepared it so that the time could be saved, otherwise so okay, so the equatorial region, and you know that the temperature of this portion is quite high. So that's why when the temperature is quite high, so automatically there would be the low pressure. So this is the low pressure belt, and as here means you need to know means this is the low pressure, so automatically means the high pressure, the low pressure, and it's a sort of series. However, there are some basic logics are also involved there, that as we go in the northward, then why if the temperature is decreases, then why here means this low pressure is there. Okay, so it also has its own reason, but right now I don't want to talk about it, otherwise it would be little complicated. So as you know, this is the low pressure, high pressure, low pressure, and high pressure. Very easy to remember. So actually, as you see that the wind always blows from high pressure to low pressure, always. But you should also have one thing in your mind, that Earth also rotates from west to east. So when the Earth rotates, a force is also being applied, and that force is known as the Coriolis Force. So when this force comes, or you can say affects or comes in the contact of the wind, then the wind actually what happens, it gets deflected, and the means the direction of the deflection is different in the northward, and the direction of the deflection is different in the southward. In the northward, as you know, you need to know one thing, that the wind always blows from high pressure to low pressure. In the northward direction, when the wind goes from high pressure to low pressure, then a deflection happens, and this deflection happens because of the Coriolis force. In the north hemisphere, the deflection, you can say, happens in the rightward direction, little bit in the rightward direction, and in the southern hemisphere it happens in the leftward direction. So as you can see here, means this is the high pressure and this is the low pressure. If winds blows from this place, it would go to this low pressure, because I have said you that high pressure to low pressure. So the direction should be like this. The wind direction should be like this, but as I have told you that there is the impact of Coriolis force, and due to this Coriolis force, the wind deflects in the rightward direction. So it means being in this direction, what happens? This goes in the little bit rightward direction, and this way you can say one wind comes into existence. In the same way, this is high pressure and this is the low pressure. It should go like this, but as I have told you, there is Coriolis force is there, and due to this Coriolis force in the southern hemisphere, the wind turns in the leftward direction. So it goes like this. So this which you see, this is known as the trade winds. This is known as the trade winds. Let me tell you that there is no any relation of the trade. The name is trade. Okay, so this is the trade winds, and this you can say means this is the permanent wind. Okay. Here in this portion you also need to know one thing which is known as the doldrum. Actually, what is doldrum? Let me tell you that there is a difference between air and wind. There is a difference between air and wind. Air, it's the composition of different gases. But as far as the wind is concerned, when the air goes from one place to another, then it is known as the wind. Means the blowing form of the air is known as the wind. Like the train is there and the train runs. If the train is running, then also it is train, and if the train is standing, also it is train. But it is not in the case of in geography as far as the wind and air is concerned. Air is not the blowing form, and the wind is the blowing form of the air. So what happens? You can say means this blowing most of the time happens in the transverse direction, or you can say in the horizontal way. From here, the air blows from that place to this place in the horizontal way. But sometimes what happens, instead of blowing in the horizontal way, the wind blows in the vertical direction. In the vertical direction. And when the wind blows in the vertical direction, then the escalation, or you can say the disturbance in that particular area is not very much visible there. If the cyclone comes, so the cyclone does not come in the vertical, the cyclone comes in the horizontal way, and whatever trees, motorcycles, whatsoever comes, if the magnitude is quite high, so what kind of devastation happens every year in the coastal area of Tamil Nadu. So here, because the temperature is quite high, so due to this high temperature, the convectional rainfall also happens. So convectional means the vertical movement of the air. So this convection means, so actually what I need to tell you that the air which is lying in this particular place position, the direction when it blows, when the wind, the blowing form of the air, it vertically you can say blows, and due to this vertical blowing of the air, the disturbance is not very much there. Sometimes that's why sometimes they also call the peace belt. Okay, so doldrum, it does mean that the vertical movement of the air happens, not the horizontal. Horizontal movement of the air is quite, you can say, devastating in nature. However, this vertical, it is not as dangerous as the this parallel. So the doldrums are present here. Now the second, as you apply the same logic and the Coriolis force, so you see this is the high pressure and this is the low pressure. Okay, so air always from high pressure to low pressure. Okay, so it should go like this, but as I have told you that in the northern hemisphere, because of the Coriolis force, the air the wind deflects in the rightward direction. So it should means goes in this way. This is the right direction. So it goes in this direction, and this air and in the means southern hemisphere from means from high pressure to low pressure, it should go means in the straight, but because of the Coriolis, it turns in the leftward direction. So it goes like this. It goes like this. These are known as the westerlies. These are known as the westerlies. In westerlies, one thing means comes into existence, that is known as the horse latitude. horse latitude is present somewhere between 35 to 45, between 35 to 45 degree latitude. This 35 to 45 degree latitude is not very disturbing in nature. The winds are very cool and calm in this latitude. Okay, so when the wind is very cool and calm, so what used to happen during the ancient time, in history, I think when the Britishers were coming, some sort of story is related with the horses. Akbar was very he was very you can say means so what used to happen during the ancient time when the trade was happening, the horse trade was happening, so most of the time trade was happening in the ships and in the vessels. So what was the reason that when the ships were coming in this particular area, between the 35 and 45 degree latitude, and when the air as you know that in this area the air is not means the wind is not quite disturbing in nature, it's very cool and calm. So if the number of the horses are quite high, and when the wind is not blowing, so how their vessels are going to travel, how their vessels are going to cross such a non-ending ocean. So they had to drop some horses inside the ocean, and that's why it is known as the horse latitude. Okay, so means this doesn't have any kind of relationship with the trade, however its name is trade, means winds, but it has relationship with the horse, and its name is also the horse latitude. Now, okay, and one thing is also related with the roaring forties. Roaring forties or means 60s something. Okay, so this roaring forties is very much visible, means in the 60 degree in the southern, especially in the southern hemisphere. Why in the southern hemisphere it is visible? Because if you see the map of southern hemisphere, you would find the land portion is very less in comparison to the northern hemisphere. So when the land portion is absent here, so it gives a very good scope for the blowing of the wind. Since the land portion is not there, so open space is there, only the water is there. So because of this kind of you can say situation, for automatically a scope gets developed, and when this kind of open space in the southern hemisphere closer to the 60 degree southern latitude, these kinds of very fast winds are blowing, and those fast blowing winds are known as the roaring 40s or screaming 60s, like this. Okay, now so these were the westerlies. Now the this one is known as the polar wind. Okay, so this is the high pressure and this is the low pressure. It should be like this, but according to the Coriolis, it goes in the right direction. So means in the right direction, so it would be like this. Okay, it would be like this, and this is the southern hemisphere. Okay, so instead of being in this direction completely straight, it goes in the left direction, so it becomes like this. So these were means these are the permanent winds, the trade winds, the means westerlies winds, and these polar winds. Okay, so these are the permanent winds, which irrespective of the month, these winds are always prevailing in the nature on the planet Earth. Now the second, as we have discussed, the permanent winds, the local winds, and the seasonal winds. Seasonal winds. So in permanent winds we have discussed, and means local winds we have also discussed, like the Fohn and Mistral. There are some seasonal winds. In seasonal winds, the one wind is known as the valley breeze, valley valley breeze, and the another is known as the means land and ocean breeze, land, or you can say land sea breeze. So what actually happens in the case of land sea breeze? Land sea breeze only can be there where the sea is there, because to get this breeze which is related with the sea, so definitely sea should be there. So what happens in the coastal region? In the coastal region, actually, as you know that the temperature of the land, it becomes cooler or hotter more faster than the ocean. So if any land area is connected with the ocean body, and let's say it is the daytime, it is the daytime, okay, it is the ocean, okay, it is the ocean, and this is the land portion is connected, this is the land portion, the daytime is there. Now you have to see what should be the direction. This is the daytime. So what happens in the daytime? The temperature always will be more of the land area. It will always, the temperature would be means quite higher in comparison to the temperature of this ocean region. So when the temperature is high enough, so automatically, because of the rising temperature, because of the high temperature, automatically there would be low pressure. Comparatively, there would be low pressure during the daytime. So when there is low pressure and there is high pressure, so wind blow in this direction, means sea to land. And if it is coming from the sea, then it is known as the sea breeze. Sea breeze. Sea breeze. From whatever the source is, the name starts with that one. If the land is the source, then it would be known as the land breeze. Okay, so this is the sea breeze. Now just reverse the situation. Let's say the night is there. Okay, the night is there. Now what would happen in the night? In the night, you must know, as I have told you, that the land portion gets warmer or cooler more faster than the ocean. So in the night time, this portion, the temperature of this portion would be quite low, and comparatively the temperature, you can say, so when the temperature is quite low, then this portion would be known as the high pressure, and this would be known as the low pressure. So during the night time, the wind direction should be like this. Why I am telling? Because who knows, somewhere down the line you are getting an opportunity to construct a building on the coastal region. So what should be the direction of your house window? So if you know this land breeze and sea breeze, so you know that during the daytime the wind blows from the sea. So you always open the window which has, you can say, which is opening towards the sea. Are you getting me? Means, if you have your own house on the coastal land, so if you know this logic, so you can position your window in a particular place, because you know that during the daytime the wind comes, so window should be in this direction, and in the night time as well. Okay, so this was the sea breeze and the land breeze. In the same way, there is valley breeze is also there. Actually, what happens, means in the valley region, the slopy area of the mountain, it becomes the same logic is there, that means that this slopy region, the temperature of this slopy region, you can say this portion gets more cooler and more warmer, you can say more faster than the land one. It means faster, and cooling process happens more faster than this lower portion. So during the daytime, means that when the temperature is quite high, so when the temperature is quite high, so during the daytime, means what would happen during the, when the temperature is quite high, so here would be known as the low pressure. When the temperature is quite high, so low pressure would be there. So during the daytime, the wind would blow like this, and in the night, means the thing would be opposite, because the temperature of this portion would be quite, means low in comparison to this portion. So the direction of the wind would be like this. Okay, so even in the means in the valley region, before constructing your house, you must know, and that is the reason means why people don't prefer the lower position, because it becomes quite chilly. Okay, so this was as far as the winds were concerned. We have discussed the permanent winds, and means seasonal winds, and these means local winds.